you started your career, you were a hotshot DJ, like 14 years old, hotshot. But you grew into a hotshot DJ at like 17 or 18 years old. I don't know if people know this at this point, but you're one of the youngest DJs in a major market in America. The youngest, I think, at the time in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, probably.
And you were at one point pro-choice, right?
Yeah, because I just wanted to keep my options open.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot of thought. It was just like, I don't know, could come in handy. You know?
Right, yeah, right.
You know, I was a dirtbag.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you were.
Even though I was still so uncool that it wasn't like I was sleeping with a bunch of groupies or anybody. Really.
Right.
I was sleeping with myself, you know, most of the time.
You don't usually need abortion after that.
Nope.
No.
Nope. Never had to have one.
You had a transition, though. What was at one point you were, I would say, as you say, kind of a pro-choice from convenience, but that you did change. What was the change?
The change was actually doing the thinking. You know, I think most people are like I used to be, and you either make decisions because you haven't thought about it and it's convenient, or I like that one, or, you know, then I don't have to argue stuff, you know? Yeah, I'm pro-choice. It's the cool position.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm not going to really be talking to any religious zealots who are going to be like, you're pro-choice. What about? And they're like, I don't know. Okay. Yeah. You're a weirdo. Stay away from me. So most people, I think, get their decisions, or they base their decisions on what's either popular, what's easy, or what has been told to them. When you actually want to know the answers to things, and I mean, putting together a daisy chain. I mean, your belief, if your belief conflicts with a bunch of other beliefs that you also hold, one of them is most likely wrong. Okay? And I was always pro-death penalty and pro-choice. And I thought that kind of worked, you know. I'm for death either side, you know. But when you actually think about it, I am pro-life and anti-death penalty. But the anti-death penalty is on religious reasons, okay? Because I think the Old Testament shows, you know, death penalty is fine, but it has to be a religious kind of sacrament, you know. I'm pro-life, not for religious reasons, but because it's the only thing that makes sense. That if we find a single cell amoeba on Mars, we will say we found life. It could be dead, and we'll say we found life. Okay? Or evidence of life. Well, gosh, I think the baby in the dish is at least evidence of life. It is life. I don't know where that is. It would be the safest thing to say as soon as it's conceived, because on Mars, the cell starts to separate, you know, it's life.
And it's certainly the biblical view, right, of conception.
Sure.
But, you know, I mean, that's not always how these decisions are made.
And I also wanted to be a decent human being that believed in something that I thought was moral, decent, and I don't know, history always has bothered me, that you're on the right side of history. And I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but I used to always say, if women had like a piece of saran wrap right here, you know, or a little window, no one would have this argument. Well, we do now. It's an ultrasound.
Yeah, and the 3D ultrasounds. I mean, it really is like a window.
Right. So you're not on the winning side, and the baby is becoming a baby faster and faster because of viability. As our technology grows, then the baby becomes a baby earlier. That doesn't make any sense.
Right. Yeah. Is this sort of the blessing and the curse of being a person who hosts a talk show. Like, you have to think this stuff out. And it pushes you into those uncomfortable areas to try to draw those lines where I don't think the average person who doesn't maybe watch the Blaze.
This is the blessing of being an alcoholic. When you crash, you have to reorder your whole life. I mean, you are carrying around stuff that is either not true or, defense mechanisms or things you just skated on. If you want to get well, you have to know who you are and what you believe and build it on rock.
I thought the blessing of being an alcoholic was like 2 a.m. on like a Saturday. That's
no, the blessing of alcoholics, and I didn't get this blessing because I did it too early, is the blackouts in the teenage years.
Right.
When you have teenagers and you can just drink until you black out, that's fantastic.
You forget the entire time period.
The entire time period.
You've used up all your blackouts.
I have.
Back in the day.
I wasted them.
You wasted them. It's funny because you get to that point where when you examine all of these things, you do find inconsistencies in the way you think. You say, okay, well, point A does not vibe with point B, and I need to square those for my own good, for my own mental health, to make myself a better person.
But you get
we do that enough now?
Yeah, no, people don't. But you do get to a place to where, for instance, I'm not staunchly anti-death penalty. I think the right answer is if it is a sacrament, a blood sacrament. But that gets into weird kind of, when Jesus returns, maybe, I don't know. But I'm not firmly against it because there's some stuff that I'm sorry, you lose. You can't play the game anymore. But we're living in a world where we want to physically, chemically castrate some children, but we think that's too mean to do to pedophiles. How's that work? How's that work?
It doesn't.
Okay. We have no problem with abortion if the mother wants the abortion. But if the mother wants to keep the abortion and somebody did exactly the same procedure, it wouldn't be assault only. It would be assault and murder. How does that work?
Why would it be murder?
Right. See, this whole society is now being set up to where there is no reason. This is how 1984 works. Don't think about it logically. Just repeat after me. 2 + 2 = 5. That's what's happening to us. We're losing reason.
Did you ever think you'd see this day? Now, again, we should point out the day has not come yet.
Yeah.
So we have not. This is not an official.
Not sure
ruling.
we have seen that day yet.
Right. We have not yet.
Yeah.
But we may here in the next few weeks. Did you ever think this would happen? I never did.
Not in my
I didn't
lifetime.
think I'd see it.
Not in my lifetime. But because we have, my entire life, we've appointed horrible judges. Horrible judges, and the left is still doing it. The right, you expect it from the left, but the right's always gotten these people who are like, well, I'm John Roberts, and I don't want to be unpopular.
Yeah. We get that all the time.
Right. The people that just lose their way to the Constitution. This is one of the most reasoned rulings I have really ever read. It is so logical and so simple to understand, and you can see who's read it and who hasn't. Most people on TV that are commenting on it have not read it. I'll bet you most politicians, most abortionists, most of the people that are on TV as talking heads for Planned Parenthood haven't read it. Because it doesn't shut down.
Right? That people don't want to. It's just what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
They don't want to go down those roads. They don't want to see the great point from the other side because it might challenge what they believe, and they identify
so
this
what are
way.
You doing with your life? I mean, what's the point of life? You just exist. You just exist. Isn't the point of I'm a risk taker, and that's the only reason why I think I've been successful. You know my slogan, been from the beginning with you. What is it?
Risk big, win big.
Right. Risk big, win big. Risk big, lose big. Just know the odds before you throw it down on the table. As if the odds are in my favor, or I feel like the odds are in my favor, I'll throw the dice every time. Most people won't do that. They don't like to risk things, but that is life. Otherwise, you're just living in this protected little world that someone else created for you. And you're just like, yep, yeah, that's right. And if you answer wrong, they, electrify the floor. If you answer right, you get a little nibble of food. I don't want that life. What is the point of life if you're not discovering new things all the time?
We do know that a lot of people live that life where they will sit there and not question, and this will turn, and it already is, turning to anger.
Oh, people are stupid.
They're incredibly
you
stupid.
just want to take a fire hose to a lot of people and just go, okay, dry yourself off and read something. They're just dumb as a box of rocks.
And dumb and certain, right? This is a
Nothing
terrible...
more dangerous.
Nothing more dangerous than dumb and certain. So here we are in a place where a lot of people who don't want to even understand the other side are incredibly angry. We've seen cop cars get smashed in the streets.
And what are they angry about?
They have to fly to get their abortions?
I don't even think so. They think that this is...
It's Gilead?
It's just four or five guys, and a woman that are making this decision and imposing it. That's not what this ruling is at all.
It does the opposite. It does not impose anything. It actually reverses the imposition.
And it says decisions like this must remain in the hands of people. Okay? I think it could easily be construed to read, it must remain in the hands of people and individuals. Yes, legislature, but can you legislate something that is this contested and this deep? I think you could make a case. I don't think you'd be right, but you could make that case. There should be no legislation on this. Should just be free. Whatever you decide to do.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to a life issue, there's more protections I think that the state can provide.
Yes.
And I know we agree on that, but there is that argument. I mean, the libertarians make that argument, often.
This should be this is the greatest freedom movement that I have seen. What's happening now in the Supreme Court, and especially with this is a libertarian's dream. It's libertarian.